Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hello, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 12, The Vortex. After a botched robbery orchestrated by Quark, an alien from the Gamma Quadrant manipulates Odo into returning him to his lost daughter. So, I know what you're probably thinking. Where's Security Officer Primin?
Yeah, he has been showing up even when we don't need to see him in the previous episodes. Now he's nowhere to be found.
Well, yep, he's been unwritten.
Oh, have we seen the last of him? Oh, yes. I shouldn't ask for spoilers, but he's worth spoiling.
Knows, he was a deep character. We definitely wanted to hear his backstory. No, he's gone. I just thought I should mention that. Like how he just turns up, it's a big issue for Odo, and then 2 episodes later you never see him again.
That's a story itself. They probably didn't mean it this way, but we could interpret that as Odo had him canned in the periphery of the episodes. Well,
they actually added him in because O'Brien was away shooting a movie. So they decided to put another yellow shirt guy in. Or in canon,
they needed the color balance. They needed the color balance.
Yeah, I guess in canon we could just say he lived through the events of Move Along Home and said, "Right, that's it. I'm done. I'm going back to Earth."
That was enough for him.
Right. Anyway, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was pretty good. We got a lot of snappy dialogue between Quark and Odo, which is always nice. And we got more insight into Odo, and they finally made use of that idea in the premiere that Odo wanted to find out more about his origins. What about you? What did you think?
I liked it. It was well done. I agree that the bits between Quark and Odo were once again the best bits on the show so far. But I felt the episode sort of plodded along a bit, and I felt the ending was pretty weak as well.
What about the ending didn't work for you?
They just seemed to run out of steam once the plot was resolved. Like the Vulcans turn up and he gets his safe passage to a politically neutral place, and then his daughter says, "Are you really a changeling?" And he's like, "Yeah." Which is just what you say about how they shouldn't have crutch lines like that. I don't know if they were going to put an effect shot in there and couldn't afford it, or if they didn't want him to, dance like a performing monkey or something, but if in that moment you wanted him just to, change a little bit, do something, change his hand into a shoe or something. But he just looks at her and goes, "Yeah, I'm a changeling." And she's like, "Oh, okay." It didn't even seem like she believed him.
Yeah.
And then they beam away and Odo has this little monologue. Home, where is it? I don't know. Which is, I don't know. I don't like it when characters do a sentimental monologue to themselves. I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad. It doesn't click with me very well.
Yeah, and coming from Odo, it's even more disingenuous.
Yeah, a man of few words, yet interrupts his own course planning too. Just, is there a word like soliloquy or something?
Soliloquy.
Yeah. What does that mean?
An aside that only the character hears that we, the audience, are privy to.
That's essentially what it was then. I felt the plot generally was quite strong, but it really failed when you meta-analyze it.
What parts failed?
Well, you know that they're going to go to the changeling world as soon as the changeling camp or whatever he says it is. As soon as he says there is one, and I can take you there, but I'm not telling you. You know that he's going to take him there. So then you've got about 30 minutes of episode that you have to sit through before they go there. Because you know, as an episode, you know.
Yeah, but think about how upset you would be if they mentioned the changeling camp and then that's never explored or resolved.
But that's not how television shows work. So you can meta-analyze it and say, well, they've mentioned that. That's what this episode is going to be about. Probably.
Yeah, that's fair. But at least we had the reversal of the beginning where it starts off as if it's going to be another Quark episode.
The first few minutes were very exciting, actually. I really liked that stuff. And I felt Croden was really cool. He was a kind of relatable guy. Interesting that they actually made an alien with stubble.
Yeah, I kept staring at that.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't they? He's essentially a fugitive, so why would he not shave? All the aliens either have massive beards or just perfect clean-shaven faces. But it must be a pain in the face to shave all these knobbly bits.
I bet they have special devices for that.
Or like a sort of tachyon pulse epilator.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, the future is fantastic.
I like how Croden was layered. He wasn't just one note, and there were complications to him.
Yeah, he mixed lies with the truth a lot, and that's always interesting and believable as well.
Yeah, he was convincing in his dissembling. He sounded truthful.
Yeah, well, as I said, I thought the writing was good. Quark's plan was fun. It was fun finding out that was all a ruse by Quark, so he could get the guy to the Gamma Quadrant. But I felt the pacing was not up to scratch. Like, you know what the surprises are going to be, even though the writing was fairly good. Like the way the plot unfolded was quite clever. It was just obvious. I guess obvious is the word I'd use to describe a lot of this episode.
Yeah, that's fair. I would go with comfortable more than obvious. I knew where they were going, but I didn't know the details, and it's those details that I liked. Just the conversations that were had.
Yeah, I don't mean to say I didn't enjoy the episode. It was a nice ride. I wasn't checking how long was left or anything.
Oh, and hey, Bashir wasn't an awful person.
Yes, because once again he was just giving medical opinions.
Yeah, he was just competently doing his job. But that's not enough to redeem his character. At least for me, I need to see some sort of personal examination or something, some kind of self-awareness. But this is a good beginning to Bashir's redemption.
What, reduced screen time?
Yes, and silently nodding his head.
Well, it makes sense. First you reduce the intensity, ease back on the Bashir, then you want to start making small concessions. Because you couldn't just have him do a 180.
Yeah, that would ring so false and would not work.
One episode he's leching on Dax, and in the next episode he single-handedly saves the station, and he's like, think nothing of it. I was just doing my job. So, what did we learn about Odo?
He's continuing to bend the rules, and he's not so rigid in his exacting of justice.
Why do you say that?
He let the prisoner go, Croden, with the Vulcans when he had an explicit mission.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That guy did commit first-degree murder, but then he saved Odo and sentenced himself back to death when he could have escaped and left Odo to die. So I think Odo kind of decided he was a good person. So Odo's kind of using his own justice. He's not using the law. He's using his law, Odo's law.
Yeah, that's fair. And he has made it clear he's not part of Star Command, so he doesn't.
Star Command.
No. Wait, what is it? Is it Star Command?
That's like a iPhone game.
Oh man, what is it called?
The Federation or Starfleet?
Federation. There we go. Star Command's Buzz Lightyear. There we go.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So Odo is secretly Buzz Lightyear.
Well, he could change into a life-size Buzz Lightyear, I suppose. Maybe he does that alone in his quarters at night.
That's how he passes the time. That's a hobby of his.
Yeah, rather than playing with action figures, he is the action figure.
Yeah, he doesn't even need a vivid imagination because he could just turn into what he wants to play with.
What Odo does in his private time is his private business.
Private business is private business.
That's right.
Yeah, Odo isn't in Starfleet, so he doesn't necessarily care what they want. It's more about what he wants.
Well, he's made that fairly clear. So yes. But isn't he supposed to represent Bajoran interests on the station? I think.
Supposedly.
He doesn't seem to care about that either. But then again, he doesn't care about a lot.
Or does he?
Well, he cares about finding his people. So I guess the clue we got is that they're referred to as changelings rather than shapeshifters in the Gamma Quadrant. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah, that stuck out to me because we've only heard him referred to as a shapeshifter, as it was graffitied in his quarters or his office.
Imagine they broke into Cisco's office and written human.
Yeah. How dare they?
Yeah, I don't think we really learned that much about Odo. It was an Odo episode, but he's so reserved that what little they let out at the end doesn't feel that natural. Feels a bit forced.
Yeah, it does. And it's something we already knew. It's just confirmed that he would like to know more about his origins. And that he hasn't been honest with himself because he's said that he doesn't need anything else. Work is enough. He's happy. He doesn't need a fancy bucket to melt into.
So, did you see any issues with the plot or plot holes or criticisms?
Yes.
Oh.
That one of the twins who becomes untwinned or detwinned.
Akel is the one that
live one.
Yeah, Rokel is the one that is dead. Although at the end they're both dead.
He says in no uncertain terms, "I'll kill that guy," and then they just say, "Okay, go on your ship and don't do any killing."
They're very lenient with that. Imagine he had to kill them.
And he ends up boarding the station and threatening poor Quark.
Imagine if he'd killed them, and then they're standing around saying, "If only we had some clue he was going to do this."
Yeah, who would have known?
Yeah, they were lenient with him in a way which makes very little sense. I've got a few that I'll run through, all fairly minor stuff.
Let's hear it.
Okay, the guy's in prison. He has a necklace. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a necklace. There's a massive suicide risk from that. Okay. Again, with the very lax security with the prisoners, they handcuff him and then put him in a runabout. So he's not handcuffed to the chair or anything. He's just handcuffed. You could get up and start kicking Odo.
Yeah, they need an overhaul of how they handle prisoners.
Yep, and then another one to do with their lax security. Well, Odo lets the guy go, lets Croden go to control the ship. Fair enough. the first thing he does is say, "Computer, do a defensive maneuver, whatever." The computer does it, so presumably at any point he could have said, "Computer, teleport Odo off the ship" or something. The computer would just be like, "Oh yeah, okay." Like there just doesn't seem to be any security on the voice-activated commands. I don't know. You could maybe argue that he pressed the controls, and then it just says, "Okay, anyone that's pressed the control can also say them" or something.
I'm sure what you're suggesting is actually possible, though. He could have just teleported him.
Yeah. The only other thing I've got noted down is that once Odo transports the guy to the Vulcan vessel, he just turns around to go back to Deep Space Nine. He never goes to the Ricari homeworld to explain anything.
Oh, they could hail them and let him know later.
Plus, the time he gets back to Deep Space Nine, they'll know he didn't go all the way there. I don't know, it seems if he wanted to do a thorough job of it, he should have at least gone to visit them. His cover-up lacks effort.
He's new at covering things up. He needs the practice.
I guess. Well, I don't really have anything other to say. Oh, no, wait, there's another one that I remembered earlier today. At the start, Odo is a glass, pretty cool. He gets thrown and smashed into pieces and reforms. Very cool. Later on, a rock falls on him and he's unconscious. So having his whole body smashed into fragments doesn't knock him out, but being bonked on one bit does.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
And when he wakes up, he clutches his head like he's got a headache. Well, that was the bit that got bonked, so maybe he's just got a head part ache. Also, is Odo naked all the time?
Well, he doesn't have a typical form, so I don't know how you would consider him naked.
Well, his clothes are part of him when he shapeshifts, so naked.
Yes.
Fair enough.
He is just running around naked.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't know of any other nude detectives. Oh, well, anyway, private business is private business. Or in this case, very public, but let's leave it at that.
Croden mentioned that most of the changelings don't keep a humanoid shape, and that could have just been details he was making up to make his dissembling sound true, but it made me wonder what shape they would take. And that was never addressed, but I think he was just making it up because it played into his matching of Odo's characteristics with what he apparently knows about changelings.
Yeah, well, he said he'd never seen one, but they did have them on his world a few centuries back. So, well, I don't know. There's no way to know if that is true or false. One character who's been in every episode so far, I think, finally got a name. I don't know if you spotted him.
No.
He hangs around in Quark's bar.
Oh, that guy with the big mouth.
Yeah. He's a regular character. He's in every episode so far, I think, or more or less every episode. He's like walking around in the background all the time. I've been dying to point him out, but I was waiting for him to actually get named. His name is Morn, which is an anagram of Norm, who was the regular at the bar in Cheers.
Oh, that must be intentional then.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Although I would want Quark's bar to erupt in Cheers every time he enters and say Morn. The hacking tubes reappear.
Yes, they were playing that minigame again.
Although, wouldn't it show up that he accessed those files? But I guess if no one checks who's accessing files, it doesn't matter. It just seems weird that he gets away with that.
Well, this show was written in a pre-internet era, and, well, not quite, I mean, the dawn of the internet. So, I don't know, they maybe didn't have a good grip on sort of large-scale network security. But yeah, there's tons of stuff that doesn't really make sense to do with the space station security and the computer security. Least of which is that instead of passwords or genetic codes or voice recognition or whatever awesome technology they have, instead they have plastic cylinders, which you can apparently steal or obtain quite easily.
It reminds me of the false cards people will put into their receivers so they can receive channels that they're not supposed to. It's kind of like that, I guess.
When you say receiver, you mean like satellite television?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
It's all cable here where I live in the city. But I know what you mean.
I can understand the computers and technology being a bit wonky, but it's weird that the security protocol is lacking because a lot of that stuff is just common sense and not far in the future stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we're not being too unfair. We are modern viewers watching this, 20 years later after it aired?
Yeah, 22 years after it first aired. Almost to the day. Anyway, it's stupid that the barkeep guy has stolen like high security access codes and they never changed them and they never checked. Now that I just said that, I'm thinking Sony, they get hacked all the time. So just because they're a large federation of planets, I guess doesn't mean that they're necessarily smart about security. It's a subject which a lot of people, a lot of companies and organizations struggle with, especially large ones. Just ask Sony.
I guess this show is more accurate than we're willing to give it credit.
So, do you have words of speaking of the episode?
Yes, I have those. This one is from Odo, no surprise, as this is an Odo-centric episode. And it's, "There's no profit in kindness," which is not true.
Yeah.
But it sounds good coming out of Odo's mouth.
I think that also shows how close he is to Quark in a way. He can think like him, in a sense. Oh, wait, no. Maybe everything I just said was a load of rubbish. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounded alright.
I didn't say that. Let's... Wait a minute. There was no Vortex in this episode.
I thought that was the purple haze.
That's not a Vortex is surely like a whirly thing.
But they kept referring to that as the Vortex.
But it wasn't whirly.
And maybe it was so whirly it didn't look whirly.
That makes no... Oh, right, that's it. The end. Goodbye.
And we're done.